spending your Friday afternoon with us. This is the kickoff session for the Ellucian Colleauge system that we've been looking at for quite some time now. Many of you are well aware that we've been looking at replacing our current software systems that run all the student-focused functions of the college, as well as the administrative ones. And earlier this year, with the support and approval of the College Board and our cabinet, we were able to enter into an agreement with a company called Ellucian. The product that we are installing is called Colleauge. Today we have our Ellucian project management team with us to kind of help us run this kickoff and let everybody know what we can expect for the next year and a half as we move through this project. Today is a milestone event. Not only is this an opportunity that we have to communicate what this is going to look like to many folks that haven't really been involved with it so far, but also this marks a transition between when we've kind of finished with our project pre-planning and configuration, and now we're moving into the actual implementation where a lot more starts happening and becomes much more exciting, and more people become involved with it. So today is the kickoff, as I mentioned, and we're going to go through. Dr. Farmer is going to kick off our kickoff and give a few words for us. And Dr. Cantrell is also going to tell us a little bit more about the objectives that we're trying to achieve as an institution. Then we're going to turn it over to our Ellucian team, Gail Jacks and Fred Hartrider, who are here with us today. And they're going to lead us through the rest of this, and then we're going to end the session with a Q&A sessions and try to answer everyone's questions. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our president, Dr. Farmer.
Thank you so much, Greg. Today is a very exciting day for Weatherford College. As you know, our software system is circa 1980s, and we are about to embark on a journey. And this tool, and it is a tool, it is an incredibly powerful tool. It has a lot of complexity that honestly I don't think that we yet fully realize just how powerful of a tool this is going to be for Weatherford College. But ultimately, it's just that. It's a tool. Like any other tool, it's going to take all of you, the truly important part of this process, the people. It's going to take you to use this tool in an informed, pragmatic way to help ensure student success. If you're not convinced at this point that we are committed, that our board is committed, that administration is committed to student success, I want you to think about all that you experienced this morning, the amount of human resources that are in this room right now, the amount of money that we have invested. We are incredibly serious about student success. Student failure is not an option. Institutional effectiveness. This tool is going to help us become more and more effective at what we do. It's going to increase efficiency across the board, and ultimately that's going to help us maintain fidelity to the taxpayer. It will help us reallocate existing resources to better ends, including salary, benefits, instructional resources, technology upgrades, and a variety of other financial competing interests that we have. And it's going to provide us with better data upon which to make decisions. Again, it's an incredibly powerful tool, but ultimately it's just a tool, and you are the people that are going to make it work. So I thank you for your efforts, and I encourage you to embrace this process and help me help this institution reach for our goals of maximizing student success. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cantrell.
Thank you, Dr. Farmer. As I think back over the last 3 years, and I'm thinking about what objectives we have for this new system, colleague, that we're going to be using these next years, I almost think that we have created a perfect storm here at Weatherford College to succeed. Over the last 3 years, I can think about the presentations that Greg has made before the board and trying to get them on board for and knowledgeable of what we needed to do our job here. It's been a journey, but all of a sudden, we are where we need to be. The Guided Pathways program that we started this last year and that we are about to implement, we've done the groundwork for it, much of it. We're coming on board with that. All of these are meshing and meeting at the same time, which makes it very good for all of us because we can design this new software to be what we need to be more effective, as Dr. Farmer said, to know what we're doing, to create a culture of student success. It is a perfect climate, I think, at this time because we're all wanting to know more. We're wanting to know what we're doing wrong. It's no more criticism between each department. I think we learned last fall when we went to the institution down in San Antonio, we took a cross-section of people with us, and we quickly learned that we don't know what the other department was doing at that time. We sat there next to each other and we said, well, it would be really good if we did this, this, and that. Well, someone next to us said, we are doing that. Well, when I look at our objectives, one of the main ones was streamlining college processes across all functions. This software colleague that we're about to implement is going to help us do that. We can get together, we're talking. We're going to be adopting an industry of best practices that are built into colleague. Greg told me yesterday, I asked him, we have 41 institutions in the state of Texas, educational institutions, that are running colleague at this time. 29, we're the 29th community college in Texas to come on board. Talking to the group from Colleague today, they told us they are fully committed to bringing these 29 community colleges, whatever we need to succeed in our work with the state of Texas. We want to increase communication and teamwork between departments, as I spoke of earlier. I think we already have done that, as it's been evident today. We're working with each other. This system is going to allow us to do more. Improve decision-making and analytics with accurate reporting. I know institutional effectiveness, as Dr. Farmer mentioned, is going to be tremendous after we're able to get in there, develop the programs and systems that once we tell them what we need to know, and they're going to be fitted to us as we need be. I know a long time ago when we were small, we could have gut feelings and we'd know what the answers were supposed to be. We're a medium-sized community college, I know, but we're a lot larger than we used to be, have a lot more newer people involved, and we should be able to meet those standards or rise above those standards that are out there for student success. And only through analytics and the information that these tools are providing at the touch of a finger, and no longer having to call Lee Butler and saying, Lee, could you get me these numbers? We'll be able to get those immediately and move along. I don't know how many times I get started on a project and I have to stop because I need some information that I don't have readily at hand. Well, that'll no longer be the case once we get this fully implemented. We want to provide user-friendly and accessible ad hoc reporting tools. That's part of that. Data standardization for consistency and accuracy. And as we're all required now, and it's big on the forefront everywhere, implement a security strategy that will protect our data. Most important for the students at this time. And you know, not least in the whole thing, but you might expect this coming from the Chief Financial Officer of the college, We want to complete this project on budget and on schedule. We want to get in and get our work done. It's going to be a long enough project as it is now, but anything we can do to speed this along and be at the end of our journey. We'll never be at the end of our journey. No, that's not true. But if we want to have full implementation where we're providing what we can to students at a touch of a button or at any other process that we can improve because of this, we want to do it as soon as we can. This is the time to do it. The state of Texas has told us 60 by 30 TX is the goal. And this tool, I believe, will help us achieve that goal. The board has given us the opportunity to do our job now. We're on our way, and I'm very excited. I hope you are too.
Thank you, Dr. Cantrell and Dr. Farmer. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fred Harkrider. I am the engagement director from Ellucian, and myself and our project manager, Gail Jakes, are going to take some time this afternoon to talk to you about what it is that Ellucian is going to do to help support the goals that Dr. Farmer and Dr. Cantrell have mentioned to you already. Today is a formal celebration. It's the kickoff of the project. As Greg had mentioned, there's already been a lot of work that's been going on in the background to set the stage for each one of you that are going to be participating in the implementation in the next many months to ensure that we have the specific direction for each one of you to follow. So what I wanted to do this afternoon is, first of all, talk to you about who Ellucian is, and then I'll hand it off to Gail, and she's going to walk you into some of the details as to how we're going to engage with you and how you're going to engage back with us to ensure a successful implementation. Real quickly, just as far as my role is concerned, I am the Ellucian executive who's responsible for the delivery of this project to Weatherford College. I've been with the company for 10 years. I live almost next door over in Frisco, so it's about an hour away. You guys are in my backyard. And so I've already been over here several times and will continue to be here throughout the lifetime of the project. So a little bit about Ellucian and who we are and why that's important to each one of you as we move forward. The first thing is that Ellucian only does software for higher education. We don't have any other industry that we support. So our focus is totally on the same things that all of you are focused on. Student success is one of the primary drivers in how we build our software and more importantly, how we deliver that software to you during the course of the implementation and our ongoing support. As you can see with some of the bullets that we have here, enrollment and retention, I know that's a big issue for every single one of you in the room. You want to ensure not only that you're obtaining students for the institution, but then ensuring that you're providing success and enabling them to meet their goals as they move forward. So what the software is going to do, as Dr. Farmer related to you, it's a tool. We're going to go through the implementation and teach you how to use that tool. We're going to provide you with recommendations on best practices so that you can elevate what you're doing today from more manually based, probably not as supportive to your constituents type of activities, to those things where you can be more efficient, spend more time with your students, help your faculty to deliver better instruction and help administration to better manage the institution. We've been in business. Ellucian is at a point in its evolution where we've got a number of companies that have been merged or otherwise acquired over a total of 45 years to now make up what you know as Ellucian. We have over 2,400 institutions that we serve across the globe. Within those institutions, over 18 million students are impacted by the software that we produce. So that is a very large contingent across the world that Ellucian has an impact on. But more importantly, it's not us sitting in a laboratory to develop this software. Everything that we have developed has come from the likes of yourselves. It's a very democratic process. When we do development of our software, our product roadmap is based upon the inputs that we get from each one of our customer institutions telling us, as higher ed continues to evolve and develop, what is it that you need in your tool set to be able to make you to perform a lot better? As we continue that development of the software and build our roadmaps, there are 4 key components that we're really looking at to ensure that the software is supporting. The cornerstone of this is student success. And I know that all of you hear that term over and over again, and I want to make sure that everybody understands that Ellucian is here to support that process, again, by taking inputs from you. During the course of implementation, as we're teaching you how the software works, we're also taking information from you as far as what specifically is needed here at Weatherford for some of the things that you want to achieve. We'll also talk to you about those things that you've done in the past that maybe didn't work so well, and work with you to show better ways that your peers outside, well, within the state of Texas particularly, but even beyond Texas, how they're using the software to do certain functions. We also want to make sure that all of the constituents, from students all the way up to members of the board and the public that might have a degree of interest in this, that they're getting a good experience as well. So we'll work with you through that component as we go through the implementation. On the bottom right, you'll see that we have operational efficiency. What that really means is, I'm sure that every single one of you right now, if you look at your day job from top to bottom, you probably find some things that you're going, if I didn't have to waste time on this, I could do something better for the students or for the faculty or whomever else you serve. That's what we're trying to accomplish with you. So that'll be part of the implementation process as well. And then finally, institutional growth. Especially as federal and state funding continues to reduce, you've got to find better ways to be more efficient, but also to ensure that you've got a viable institution that's growing, bringing in more students, providing better programs, et cetera. So again, these are all the things that our software platform will support for you. In addition, even though Ellucian and Colleauge, particularly the ERP that we're implementing here, is very robust, it's impossible to do everything for everyone. So what I'm showing here, which is a bit of an eye chart, I know, but it's an example of some of the third-party vendors out there that most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. You've encountered in conferences, you've been called by them, or otherwise you've encountered their applications. This is a list of a good portion of the partners that we have, and the reason why I say they're partners is we're working directly with them to ensure that the baseline code between our products and their products are easily translatable, so that if you need a particular application that Colleauge is not necessarily providing the functionality that you need, then these options are available to you to integrate easily into our software stack. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Gail, and she's going to walk you through some details of how our implementation is going to work. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Fred. Is that better? My name is Gail Jakes. I am from up by Sioux City, Iowa. So when I left home, it was raining at about 40 degrees. I got a text from my granddaughter, my daughter, her grandson. My grandson was playing football in the rain, and I said, I'm in Dallas, and it's 80, so I'm happy to be here. I like to present this slide to show you what Colleauge, how it's an integrated system, and how the pieces of Colleauge all talk to one another. It is built that way. It is not separate systems that we interface with each other, but it is truly built as one system. My background is in Colleauge. I came from a community college in Iowa that I worked at for about 15 years. Prior to that, I worked at a different private college in Sioux City, Iowa. So I have a long, long experience in higher education and working with the product. I am not one of the consultants, so I don't go as deep as they do, but I do understand how the Colleauge product is really integrated. So when you have, I put core in the middle of what your core consulting is coming up at the end of October, but you will all have one name and address in one system that all the peripherals will use. There will be a lot of information in core, like facilities, that you also will share across multiple other applications. So this is a very integrated system, and it really serves itself well so that you're not doing double entry, you're not finding out in one area they have one list, in another area they have another list. It all comes together as one integrated system. Our system is very what we call rule-driven, and meaning that you have little windows of opportunities to go into the software and say, in-state, out-of-state, what does that mean for your institution? What are the rules that affect tuition that is based on your given policies? And so it has a lot of flexibility that way for you to be able to do that as we continue to build the architecture of the system, and we do that with you. We also have a mobile deployment, so as we all know, I have a granddaughter who's 20 years old in college, and even the 8-year-olds are doing this all the time. I'm going to register for my classes, just 1 minute. Okay, I'm done. That's what they're used to. And so we do have mobile first deployment, meaning that we want to make sure everything that they can do, the student needs to do, possibly what we saw in an earlier presentation, they can also do on their mobile device, because that is truly what the students expect at this time. Web services, everybody is familiar now with using, who doesn't use the internet right now? Anybody? So all of our services and all of the applications are also what we call API or web services enabled. Kind of what Fred pointed back to, we have 680, I think it's gone up by about 10 this year, colleague clients that have 205 of those are 20 plus years or more. The college I came from signed the contract, as I recall, in '91. So we have long-term relationships with our colleague family, and we do like to consider it a colleague family, meaning we expect you eventually to get to know your other peer institutions in Texas and around the Midwest, and to start sharing information and collaborating with them. I'll talk a little bit about the implementation methodology that we're going to embark on here immediately, because this is the kickoff. So, kind of here we go. The Weatherford and Ellucian really are a partnership. We have our role and we will have your role as to what the expectations are as far as bringing the software to its fruition, as far as you being able to see it and use it and touch it. There's a lot of steps in between. We will guide you and work with you throughout that process, but this is really for who's the owner of the process, who's the coach, who's the driver. My role is to really be the architect of the implementation. You will have numerous consultants, depending on where you are in the implementation, come and work with you. And I think everybody here, how many are in staff or department offices versus maybe faculty? So you'll be working with the consultants regularly. You'll be sitting side by side, talking about Weatherford College, talking about what you do now, what you'd like to improve on. And our role then is to help bring that to your goals and meet your expectations. So this is a partnership, and we continue to work with you throughout the implementation on that way. Kind of what Dr. Farmer alluded to earlier, this is people, policies, processes, tools, and technology, and none of these can happen without the other. So people, in my mind, is the most important. The technology will follow, the tools will follow, but without the people there to really make this happen, you are the ones that will be the drivers of the implementation, and we are there to be your coach and your guide and your trainer and to help you through it. I think you have all of the keys to success. I've been working with Weatherford for 4 or 5 months now, learning about the institution, setting all the groundwork that has to happen to get us to this point. And your executive commitment and decision making is spot on. To know that Dr. Farmer's here giving his support, your leadership being here to give their support, to making sure that you have what you need to be successful. The team structure and governance is what we've worked on to date. So we have a charter that's been worked on by your steering team. Anybody who wants a copy of that or to read it, I think Greg can provide access to that. That you can go out and exactly see who are the team members, what are their roles, what is the timeline, what are the responsibilities. All of that is listed in what we call the governance structure and the project charter. So that is in place. We know what direction we're headed, and so we have a key to success at that point. We have the time and resource commitment that has been given, the training and user adoption we are about to embark on. We have a scope document on the website. You have a website for the project, and the scope is on the website. And we've talked a lot about change management and being able to take from where you are today and move everybody to kind of your future space and where you want to be. Not everybody adopts change. I think I'm a change agent up until the time they change my desktop, and then I'm not. So we get that. I think we're all change agents in different places. We're all saying, oh yeah, I'd love to have that different. Just not my stuff. And so we're going to work through that because we know that's out there, and we know everybody has processes they've held on to. They have passions about their work. The work you do is important, and some of you may have done it for years and years a certain way. And when somebody comes in and says, hey, let's blow that up, maybe we're going to do it a little different, maybe we're going to do it extremely different, that's going to make people uncomfortable. So we want to make sure that you understand that, and that the change management processes and the change agents are in place to help us through this. Total system ownership. I think the fact that you are here shows that you are interested, invested, involved, and so the ownership is important. And as you go through the process, by the time Ellucian steps back and says, congratulations, everything you wanted to do has been accomplished, you are ready to go, and we want you then to be the owner. And you are to be able to sit down and say, yeah, I've got this. I can do this. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly where I'm taking us in the future. So that is your system ownership. And for that to happen, communicate, communicate, communicate. I probably can't say it enough. That you'll probably be in more meetings than you can expect you've ever been in. But it's important. You need to talk across lines. You need to talk across I call it the egg chart that I showed earlier. It's an integrated system. Financial aid and accounts receivable and the registrar, I know you talk now, you'll probably be talking a lot more. What happens in one office is going to affect payroll. What happens in the curriculum, when they're building the curriculum, is going to affect a lot of things we saw with student planning that Tanya showed us earlier about how the student is going to then see what they see on their iPhone. So communicate is important. And I think if we communicate always with the student's interest in mind, is when you'll come with your best decisions. To say, how will this affect students? Not necessarily how it will affect my office or my department, but how will it affect my students? And at that point, I think, is when I see most of the implementations start to take a life on that says, we're not just doing this, to get Pell awarding out the door. We're not doing this just to get the students admitted, but we're really doing this to make our student experience better. Our Ellucian implementation methodology, we do this consistently across all of the institutions. I've implemented a large number, I don't know, I should count, of institutions in the past. We continue to refine and improve our implementation methodology, and it continues to get better. Our tool set gets sharper, our deliverables get more crisp, but the fact that we've done this many, many times really does lend itself to your advantage in that you have kind of that architect or that overreaching process that says we're going to take you from here to here, and you may not get it. I'm working with another project manager, and their client said, I don't know why they just can't tell me everything that's going to happen. I just need to know it now. And finally they discovered I can't know it now. It's long and it's big, and we're going to take you through a process. And the fact that we've done this numerous times, I think, is a testament that you will be fine. We'll take you step by step. We will make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and that we take you to the next place. So we do this over and over. We define, design, configure, test, and deploy. And we will continue to repeat that process as we go through the implementation. If you have questions as I go through this and want to raise your hand, feel free. If you would like to just jot it down and hold it to the end, that's fine too. So don't feel like this is a lecture only. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable asking questions when you're done. We have a team approach. We have our executive sponsor named already for Weatherford. We have our steering team in place. We have our project management team in place. The implementation team leads, how many leads are here, have all been identified, and they have been meeting for the last month or so, maybe longer, since I was here end of July when we started that process. We will also have core process teams, so we'll talk about teams a lot. So I know when I came into higher education, everything was a committee. At Ellucian, everything's a team. So we'll talk about what the core process teams might be, a certain process we want to bring together, and just talk about a process. We'll do cross-functional work groups and get down to some detailed level really on, we call them component teams. We have all that kind of architectured in your charter. We know who's on these teams and where we're going. So the charter is kind of that, just like it sounds, we're charting the course, and we've charted the course for your project. I talked a little bit about this already, but to focus on your institutional goals, it's important that you have them articulated, that this is an initiative that not just supports software, this supports your institutional goals. And that's the most important thing for us to keep in mind. We consider this a partnership. This is not us telling you. This is not you off on your own trying to figure it out. But this is really a partnership that we bring to every institution that we work with to make sure that they have that relationship. And I take that very seriously, that it's not just us and them, it is us together. Full participation, I've talked to your core team or your steering team about this earlier, that the old staying in for a penny and for a pound. We expect full participation, people who are dedicated to the process, people find their job and what they do today is important, and we need to understand it, and we need to be able to come and tell us how things work today, so we can start to architect how things will work in the future. And that commitment from us to you, and that commitment from you to us, and more importantly, that commitment between yourselves, so that you know that you are one team really working on this as an institutional initiative. Fred introduced himself earlier. He is the engagement director. Fred provides oversight for kind of the big picture, multiple institutions over a geographic region. I then, as your project manager, will focus on Weatherford College. Fred is my right hand, left hand. And so when I need Ellucian support, anything I need, he's the person that I go to for assistance. We have named your consultants, and I've listed them here. We know that these could fluctuate as the project continues to unfold, but we do have a series of consultants we have already tagged for your project. You'll have you pretty well know who they are, so you'll have a core team consultant, financial aid, student system, admissions, accounts receivable, and the last person on that list is Scott Nichols, and he does data migration. You'll get to know them all very well. They will be here numerous times and work with each of your departments. Again, a few things that we have for Fred, that his role is to ensure that all activities of the project are successful. So once again, if I have any issues, If you have any issues that you want to escalate to Fred, that things aren't going well, that is his role to make sure that he brings success to you. And however we need to do that, I will engage, and you can engage with Fred as well. It's your primary escalation point to resolve issues. Fred will also be the person that, the last bullet, manage your ongoing relationship. I will come and go, as sad as that is. I always hate it when I do it. We do what we call a live simulation at the very end of the project, right before you go live. And several months after that, I exit and I'm on to the next client. Fred will be with you longer than that. Fred lives right up the road, and so he'll be able to engage with Weatherford beyond that. So don't think that just because one of us will come and go, you will have this ongoing relationship with others at Ellucian to continue to foster your progress. I am, as your project manager, the primary point of contact that will work with you directly. I will define and manage, deliver expectations. I supervise the consultants that are on your project while they're here. I'm not their personnel manager, but I am their project manager. So anything that happens with consultants, I'm in touch with them frequently throughout the project on a weekly basis. So we continue to keep in touch and make sure that things are moving as they should. We have quality checks throughout the project to make sure those are happening and to make sure that we're promoting best practices. All of the consultants that are on your team have worked at a college. I can say that emphatically because I know them all. They were a registrar, they were a financial aid director, they were, you name it, but they have all come from higher education. So they are not coming to you going, well, I worked at Microsoft once, and I think we did, no, they're going to be able to say, when I was a registrar, or when I worked with my last 12 other clients, here's how we solved that problem. So they'll bring all of that experience to you, which is incredibly valuable when you're making decisions. The consultants then are also accountable. They're accountable to be their subject matter expert. They will deep dive into the software way further than I can go. They will be able to walk through all of the aspects, all the technical underlying codes that need to be set up. They will bring all their expertise and their best practices. So a lot of our clients are very unique. Most of them are similar. Some of our clients feel more unique and we think they're more similar. So they are able to take those similarities and bring them to the table and say, yep, I've heard that before. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, we solved that problem at another school and here's what we did. And so they bring all of that experience to the table. They'll do training and consulting. Most of our engagements are more of a consultative nature. The first one is a little more training, so they are showing you the software. From that point forward, you will be moving into discussions about configuration, setups, and best practices. At the end of every engagement, they provide you an engagement report. It will be on your, we call it CCE, Client Collaboration Site. Anybody who wants access to it can have that, and you will need it because you'll want to go out there and get a lot of information. Will be on that Client Collaboration Site, and they will provide their engagement report to you. It includes what was discussed, what are the next steps, when are those next steps due to be completed by. So you'll get a very clear roadmap about what's expected so that the next group or the next team can make their progress. Again, very interactive. Let's see. Your key roles, and we talked about these a little bit. Your key roles, your executive sponsorship, your project manager, Greg, and the steering team. And they have all really, really embraced this and really embraced the process and are prepared to lead the rest of the institution through this initiative. little bit about the steering team. The steering team, how many steering team members are here? I think I asked that once before, but I didn't. They're all here. So you can find them. They are the ones that we will be leading some of your actual department teams, but they're also the ones that you take decisions to when somebody might need to be a tiebreaker at some point in time. This team wants this and this team thinks that. Let's go up to the steering team and see what they say. Some of the things we'll run into might be a policy. Well, the policy says that we can X, Y, Z. A lot of times we can't find those policies, but if you do find it, I thought I'd get a laugh from somebody. If you do find that policy and it needs to be changed, that should go up through your steering team and up through your executive leadership, because sometimes, times change, and it's just time to talk about that particular policy. They will help set clear and shared goals and facilitate all the team communications that need to happen. I recommend many times on your client collaboration site that I've mentioned before that you're able to maybe do a newsletter. The steering team put something out about what's coming next or what is our big go-live date. We're pulling financial aid ICERs in October. Here we are in October. I have another client, they're pulling ICERs. They're pretty excited. It's one of their big days. So good things to communicate beyond just your teams. You want the larger campus to know. This will be a long project, about a year and a half, maybe 2. And people get tired and they've been in training. So be sure to celebrate and the project steering team to energize you to be able to say, great job, I'm bringing cookies next time. All is part in their role for communication. Your executive sponsor, again, if there are scope changes, if there are policy changes, if there are risks that we identify in the project, we'll certainly be taking those to your executive sponsor to make sure that those are resolved and that the project can move forward. For your project manager, Greg and I and Ken actually have been working together, like I said, in the steering team for the past several months. He has a role, some bullet points on this slide, to work with me. So we have weekly phone calls to make sure that we're accomplishing next steps, that we know what the next steps are, and we're able to check those off the list. Things like monitoring the budget, preparing the project plans. He will lead the team leaders in the team meetings. We'll have lots of meetings. And responsible that, we'd like, this is an extra bullet, I probably didn't tell you this, Greg, that we have a scribe so that we can report notes. So far I've been doing that, and we will place those on all of your CCE or your team site. As well as we have a budget meeting once a month to make sure that you're staying within budget. So he provides high level, kind of a higher level guidance and support structure to the project. These are the members of the steering team, and once again, thank you for stepping up. Thank you for taking on these leadership roles. It is important that all of these positions are filled, and we did have a lot of conversations about the right people and the right job at the right time, and I think Weatherford College did a great job of really bringing the people to the table that need to be here. So I applaud all of these. Thank you for being on the steering team. If you want to be on the steering team and want to negotiate that, please see Craig. No, just kidding. We will have about 10 teams underneath of the steering team. Just to run through these quickly: core, finance, and resource admissions, reg records. You can read those, but there will be approximately this number of teams. Their activity will come and go, kind of as your academic cycle goes. So the first thing would be core. We need to build the foundation of the house. We need to make sure that things like as small as Miss, Mr., Ms., Doctor, Provost are all built in according to what Weatherford uses. Those are minor things that we'll build, so that will happen first. The next thing is finance. All of the rest of the system, it's integrated, has to have a general ledger. And if you're going to post anything to the GL, you need to have that structure in place. So guess what? Finance is next up. Right after that, we'll be working on admissions. These aren't in order. Working on admissions and then into the student system. So the implementation goes in cycles. All of you won't be busy all of the time. So as your area comes up, you'll start to take on some additional meetings and some additional training. Let's see. I talked about this briefly, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but there are things that we know because we work in higher ed all the time, that we know there are things we will have to meet. If you go to a regular business that builds widgets every day, they don't have this kind of cycle. We understand the higher education cycle. We know that you probably do advising in the spring for the fall, that you are pulling ICERs in October, that you are awarding students in January. So we have all of that knowledge already in our portfolio to work around. So we will be implementing based on those cycles. I'm going to skip ahead. This doesn't look as bad up there as it does here. So the blue lines are, and I don't know how many can see all that. We'll make this all available to you. But the blue lines are all the implementation that particular area will be active. So for example, in December, this fall, starting next spring, we want to make sure that we get the general ledger in place so that the admissions team can use it. And all of this has been orchestrated very intentionally around the academic cycle. And currently, this is your plan. So if you're in any one of these departments, let's see, if you're in accounts receivable, you're a little bit later. Don't have to worry about going to training yet this year. That comes further out in the plan. So this is available to anyone who wants it. I think it's in the charter. It'll be on the team site, and so feel free to look at this. Some of these will move, not very much, maybe a week, a month, but not a lot. This isn't meant to be an eye chart, but an example. This is the level of detail that we will get to as we start to get into the implementation. You will have, as I recall, the student system itself has 37 on-site, no, not all on-site, 37, we call them engagements, times when they will be working with you. Finance has 5 times a consultant will be on-site. All of that has to be very well orchestrated, so they blend into times when you're not available, that they blend into our appropriate time on the build as they're building things. And so there will be pages and pages like this that actually outline your implementation and your consultants. So just wanted you to know there's a master plan in place, and we are building it out as we speak. It continues to get more robust over the next month. I would suspect by the end of October, it would be solid. We're working on it now, and we have consultants assigned to different places. Some of you were asked for blackout dates, things like don't be here the first week of classes. It's probably not a great time to go to training. So we have those dates from everybody, and we're building your schedule around it. Questions? I'm going to pause right now for any questions or thoughts. Quiet. We had intended to do a demo. That's why, if you can see it, that says demo. But when we tried to do the AV, it was just a little bit, not the quality that we wanted. It was a pre-recorded demo, and the audio wasn't great. So we decided at the last minute we're going to skip the demo, and going to just show you, and then we'll send it to you where you can access this. And we'll send this out. But Ellucian on there, we're basically Ellucian.com. And you can go there, and this particular one says Colleague ERP. And if you go to that page, we have a lot of information. Feel free to go here. Some things will require a login. You will be able to request one. Go to my demo page. No, slow down. We were going to run some of these, but go look at them. Feel free to go watch the demos. The one we were going to run today was about student planning. Again, voice quality wasn't what we needed it to be, so we're not going to do it. But go look. You can run them anytime you want to. It will ask you for your name and an institution. If you get any kind of email or message that comes up, you might need to get a login, which is fine. Get you a login. But feel free to come out here, start looking, watching the videos. There's a lot of information on the website. So with that, I am at the end of my little presentation. Again, do you have any questions, thoughts, comments, things running through your mind besides break? Well, you will see me on campus from time to time. I will come back. I do come at least once a quarter and visit the steering team, and I like to come when there's a consultant here, so I like to sit in on consulting engagements. If you, again, have any questions, anything that comes up later, she asked for questions, but I forgot to ask, feel free to send those to Greg. He'll make sure they get them to me, and we will do our best to answer them. I am so excited to be here. I am thrilled every time I get to work with a college. Higher education is my passion. So thank you once again for having me. So for, what is it, the rest of the day they have off, is that what it is? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Fred. Dr. Farmer, Dr. Cantrell, thank you very much. Not only were your presentations spot on, but we couldn't do this without your commitment. So thank you. And thank you for coming. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. And I guess the thing to remember is this is going to be a marathon and not a sprint. And you saw the timeline that we're marching to. So, but we will be showing incremental progress throughout the project. And we will commit to getting communication out to everybody so that you know how we're going. But feel free to contact me or Ken with any questions that you have, and thank you.